He just left.
Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome, gentlemen from the Rug Radio Asia Alliance. How are you guys doing today, GM?
GM. We are doing good. Obviously tired. Like what you said, right? Pre live, we talk about decompression in terms of that. But I'm feeling the FOMO because we have in December Art Basel. Rock Radio is doing like a 4 days activation, so I'm not gonna be there. Feeling the FOMO, but in Asia we have Taipei Blockchain Week. We have Indian IB. What is it called, Maeve? Indian Blockchain Week.
IBW.
Ah,
IBW.
IBW, India Blockchain Week. So it feels like, oh shit, is there something's gonna happen? What am I gonna missing out on? So I'm feeling excited. Obviously I need to rest. December has been, like, I would say, more of like working, doing spaces, setting up the calls and stuff like that. But yeah, man, like once you go for all this event, you just get excited and you forget, like, oh, you're not even tired anymore.
Oh, nice. Okay. Now, before we get back to that, because I do want to hear more about that, Tony, GM, can you hear Puka Rainbow and myself all right? Oh, he's still requested. Oh no, we gotta let him up. What's going on? Tony, GM, can you hear Puka Rainbow and myself all right?
Buzz.
Oh, Tony. Well, it looks like he's stuck in limbo potentially. But okay, so tell me more about Indian Blockchain Week. So, I mean, I hesitate to say like, oh, is that taking place in India? Like, is that taking place in India, or what's the details behind that?
I need to pass it to Maeve.
Yeah, it is happening in Bangalore, Grand Sheraton Hotel tomorrow. I think the main day is tomorrow to the 7th. Got actually I do have media passes to give out. Media passes and tickets, more tickets of sorts. But anyhow, important, not important. If you guys want, hit me up. Yes, India Blockchain Week. It's their first time organizing this event. They are part of, I'm not too sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but the company structure is part of Hash. They are massive. They were the ones that organized Korea Blockchain Week, KBW, August. Korea was an amazing time. I think next year is going to be amazing as well. But yeah, KBW was done by them. Hash Group, Hash Emergent, if I remember correctly. And I don't know. I'm expecting big things from IBW. I think even if this year isn't as amazing, which is already going to be amazing, and I know of it, it's going to happen the next year, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. It's just going to keep happening because this space continues to grow, right? Everybody that has supported will continue to support, and I'm really excited.
So you bring up an interesting point, like with a lot of these events. You mentioned KBW, IBW. It seems like there's a lot of events happening, which I think is a good thing. Do you see any one of these events standing out over you mentioned the long term, 1, 2, 3, 4 years? Like, do you think that a lot of these are going to combine, or are we going to see a lot of these multiple small events happening like all the time? Like, who do you see being the standouts in 1, 2, 3 years?
That is an amazing question that's got me thinking quite a bit. So, to me at least, the way I look at it is, can I ask you a question? NFT NYC, is it private? Is it government supported?
I don't think it's government supported. I mean, who knows? Actually, I mean, with events that size, you never know if there's like grants involved or other things like that. But it's not like sponsored by the U.S. government, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so and that was very weird. That was a very weird noise. Okay, the interesting I've learned is in Southeast Asia at least, governments and banks are involved. So like I met up, shout out, right, Chris. He's amazing. He's with Crypto Mind Labs. They're the ones that organize Genesis Blockchain Week or Thailand Blockchain Week as we know it, and it's their second year or third year organizing this, right? And they have support from government and banks. Very very different playing field. Same like Vietnam, from my understanding at least. And if we look to Singapore, right, when we talk about Token 2049, the reason why Token is so big is because the government is involved, right? They intentionally put F1 together with Token 2049 Crypto Week So
Right, right.
it's massive. So in this part of the world, Southeast Asia, at least government and banks are involved. That's why, like, back of my head, I had a lot of a great conversation with Chris, and I was like, wow, how do we even compete? Because like you're literally competing with both government and the banks, right? Bank or banks, not too sure, but like you have both sides, right? Government and financial institution literally involved. But yeah, going to your original question, I do see every country having their own version, a localized version, because I think when it comes to like Asia, at least we have a lot of different native languages, and it's going to be, there will definitely be a localized version. But the interesting fact is using DevCon, right? This year, I think DevCon only started, I think, March or something, and it's been gaining a lot of traction, right? The recent one was Istanbul last month or year month, but basically in November, right? Istanbul was a very interesting event, DevCon particularly, because uh, it suddenly came out of nowhere. Well, obviously I do not know too much of history. If somebody can educate me on that, that would be amazing, right? And from my understanding, like Vietnam and Thailand are competing for it. Well, on a friendly way, right? They're competing for it. They're trying to get for it. I do know like Eve.KL that happened this year. Uh, right, the team behind Eve.KL, they are also looking to bring DevCon, because I think if anything, we were talking about this, right? 8 Fest has brought in so many opportunities, right? Uh, when I talk about opportunities, stay, food, tourism, and the list goes on. Is that whole ecosystem, they're bringing money into your country, massive, massive, and DevCon is one of these events. I do not know how many people have went to DevCon, but it was a lot. Like literally, my timeline, my group of friends, my homies, and now so many people have flew to Istanbul literally for DevCon. And I think I would love if somebody could tell me about the history, how DevCon kind of just started, who's involved, just to understand a bit more. But yes, localized level, there's going to be a lot. And I think like something like 8 Fest are the ones that are kind of like going to lead, I guess, like central attention.
Okay, so this is interesting. So you mentioned institutions like banks, governments getting involved in these cryptocurrency conferences. Now you mentioned, I can see you're like tourism. There's tourism that, so the government may be incentivized to invite, and I imagine the average crypto enjoyer who's traveling to a conference may have a large what is it, spending purse, we'll just say it that way. So they're probably incentivized to attract those kind of folks. But um, not a lot of like banks have had direct crypto exposure yet. There's lots of talks of ETFs, things like that. What do you think so even still, the question for the government, what is the incentive for these governments and banks to be involved in these cryptocurrency conferences where traditionally they've avoided associating themselves with things like that? Because that's something we're not seeing in the US. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Well,
what's the difference in attitude?
Lips, I'd have to guess that, right now, at least what we just saw with Binance, the US is being very like clamping down on,
Yes.
Regulations. So I'd like to think, Dubai is one of the places that has been pretty like, hey, like we're a bit of a haven. With decentralized AI, it looks like London might be the spot because, like after all this stuff went on with OpenAI, the US kind of said in like 9 months we might come and drop these like super heavy regulations on how AI can be trained. The EU is planning to adopt those as well, but since Brexit, UK is separate. I guess kind of the parlay question to Puke and Maeve, is Asia trying to like just in general, like as the continent itself, trying to take a pro crypto stance? I would assume that's why the banks are getting involved, because they want the businesses to come there.
Yeah, I would say to a certain extent, right? Like for example, when we see, just say take Singapore, like what Maeve said, they paired token 2049 together with F1. It's not just NFT but crypto. People are going to Singapore to open more institution, because the rules are not as tight in the US, right? And I think one thing that's really interesting is that the government itself, they have a lot of projects that's links to it. Even they not just token 2049, but a lot of like different small events. It's all backed by the government in terms of having activation, getting people to come in. So I feel like in Singapore they have this company called Temasek, which also heavily goes into like, FTX and all of these other, I would say, crypto stuff. So it's really based on, I would say, more opportunity, since like the US the one, then we have, at least we go in, we maybe set some regulations, we bring more people into to Singapore. I think that is an opportunity for them.
Hmm. And I guess, and
I
maybe
agree.
I'll ask you guys your take on this, because this is my understanding, like with Ape Fest and other events, and people may not be super familiar with the relationship between like Hong Kong and mainland China. And so this is just my understanding. So please correct me if I'm wrong, or elaborate on this. Is that Hong Kong is a focus right now because it acts as this kind of free port for cryptocurrency, because mainland China can't directly deal with cryptocurrency, but via Hong Kong, it can kind of act as this intermediary to allow cryptocurrency to flow in and out of the country. Is that an accurate representation of what Hong Kong represents to mainland China?
That is the general consensus. Yes, this kind of like I think the narrative that everybody is speculating on right now. You can't enter China.
What's your narrative? You said that's the general consensus. Do you have a different opinion?
I very but no, I think I'm gonna go agree with it. My trip to Hong Kong was is this just how I'm gonna leave it? It's just like it was yeah, it was great. It was great going to Hong Kong. Kind of really opened my eyes. Get like in touch with everybody. Shout out like Mocha's team, any Mocha brands. They brought us around. Went to the events. Speak to quite a number of people. It was very interesting to see. Very excited to see how this.
Yeah, one thing I would say, man, Hong Kong is like it's where the money is. It's where the money is.
Sure.
In terms of like the events, people going there, you get a lot of people, expat that is flying over to Hong Kong for business opportunities. And I like to refer back to our country, right, Malaysia as well. So
Mhm.
we are not as crazy as like Singapore, Hong Kong, whereby the government is out there loud, but we do have I would say like a sister company, or a small division in the government called MDEC, right, whereby they support, I would say, like digital stuff. So MDEC is actually actively giving out grants for NFT projects and stuff like that. So the Pagi Penguin activation in Malaysia, whereby Luca came, MDEC was there, giving out speeches, having some kind of formal collaboration. Another one is like Star Symphony, which is a local Malaysian project. NFT project is like a GameFi, which also got grant from them. So it feels like, all right, we don't really have a crazy regulation on how the business should work, but we are there to support, to say like, hey, if these are some new businesses that is coming out, we can review them, we give them some grant to support in a way to build up like this whole ecosystem. So I feel like countries can't say like, no, we don't want any cryptocurrency, because they realize that, okay, this is maybe big opportunity. So I think like in Malaysia, they're doing this kind of like baby steps as well.
Yeah, no, that's cool to hear that your government is taking. I mean, it's kind of like we're having like a effective accelerationism discussion here. Like it just, but we've had the CEO and founder, one of the founders, I may be mistaken, of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, has basically said that the U.S. is going to stifle progress amongst multiple things like cryptocurrency, AI, and things like that. So it's cool to hear that there are places that are open to accelerating this technology, and in setting that tone from the top down. And I think, to be fair, I think that probably reflects in the local populace, because like you've said, there's tons of local meetups. People show up for these things. Like that's just not like necessarily the case in the US. There's a lot of bigger events in the US, don't get me wrong. Like we have Art Basel coming up, and like, this weekend, a lot of people are going. But I don't think we're seeing the kind of local activation like what y'all have seen, right? Like you guys have tons of local pop-ups, people show up, it's awesome. But I do just kind of want to reset the room really quick, because some great folks in the audience. Please feel free to come up to the stage at any point. This is the Silk Road, where we attempt to commit geographic arbitrage and exchange alpha from across the globe. So and speaking of that, in resetting the room, I want to hear Maeve and Pewter. I think this is probably a good idea, right? We have our echo chambers over here in the West. And so we'll just keep it super simple, right? Top of mind, what are your top 5 NFT projects you're thinking about right now? And that's why I just want the raw association, because I think your sphere of influence will influence the decision. I'm really curious to hear what the difference is.
Top three, top three, top
Alright,
three.
alright, top three.
top
Maeve,
three.
you go first.
Top
Maeve,
three.
you go first or what?
Damn.
All right. How about this? 5. I say 1, Maeve say 1, and then we just like.
Okay, so
Okay.
5 collectively.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh.
I'm down.
I go first.
Alright.
Pixelmon.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Mochaverse, right? Obviously, Mochaverse. Yeah, Mochaverse.
Mochaverse. Okay, so we have Pixelmon, number 1. Mochaverse, and Puker, number 3.
Pluto Misfit.
Pluto
Ah.
Misfits. Is that the Polygon
Yeah,
PFP project?
So-
Okay.
Alright,
Pluto
that's good,
Misfits.
that's good.
I'm gonna write these down to myself so I don't forget because I have a goldfish brain. Okay, so Pixelmon, Mochaverse, Pluto Misfits. Okay, what's next?
I'm thinking, oh man, Ronin. But Ronin is a bit vague. Ronin is a coin though, it's not NFTs, so it's a bit.
No coins yet.
No coins.
Yeah.
Damn, I've just been really focused on Pixelmon and Mocha right now. Axie, I think, is an interesting one. Well, Pixels. I'll go with Pixels. Wait, they're not okay. Well, technically they're under AB, so yeah, I'll go with Pixels. Pixels
Okay.
Online, LAN. Yeah, Pixels.
Is that is that like pixels.gg? Is that the one where G-Funk is involved? Or is that
No,
a different-
this one is Pixels Online. So they recently migrated to Ronin, but they're under Animoca. I think Animoca either invested into them but they're definitely part of the Animoca ecosystem right now.
Okay. All right, last one, number 5.
Oof. Okay. Number 5.
Gotta pull out the list, man. Wow, this is
I don't know. I'm checking the list.
Animus. No, Animus. No,
Animus?
Nah.
I don't know, man. I want to say Pudgy, but it feels like everybody's gonna say that. I want
No,
a little bit.
that's fine. No, see, that's fine. I was curious if there was any crossover in like up until number 5, almost zero. So
But I okay. So besides Pudgy, a project that has not minted yet, I would say maybe NHS.
Yeah. All right. That's good.
is
that's
that just spelled NHS?
Annie ANI
Oh, okay.
CHESS. So basically, they are under Animoca brands as well. But the whole collaboration is with chess.com.
Whoa. Everybody loves
How do we
chess.com.
get the wait list there?
You
Don't tell
bring me up, bro.
8070.
You just
Oh
bring
my
me up,
god.
bro.
It's mine. Yeah, do we need to join the Discord? What's the alpha for any chess? We're gonna work our way backwards here.
Yo,
Yeah,
this.
so-
Oh, sorry.
So
No, go ahead.
yeah, so NHS, there's no mint, all right? There's only airdrop. So you gotta play the game. Yeah, you gotta play the game, and then it will lead. I'm not supposed to say this because it's a tomorrow news. But you gotta play the
Ooh.
game, and then you can earn some kind of points, which will lead to a airdrop. And then from the airdrop stuff you can do, and will lead to a PFP.
Your boy's about to bust out his rook and knight. We're getting crazy. Oh my, who would have thought that we would ended up back here, grinding away at chess.com. No, that's awesome. So that's why you're here, for that kind of alpha, baby. But so that's awesome. So we're definitely gonna I'm gonna do some research on that. But to go backwards, right, to number 1, Pixelmon. Like, what a surprise. Not super surprising to me because I've been following it relatively closely. But Tony, what's your impression of that? Did that surprise you?
Dude, I mean, I just remember Kevin, right? Kevin, like that, like it was like Pixelmon and Ozervala, I think, were like 2 of the worst art reveals in the history of my experience in this space. But ever since, I feel like it was Horizon Labs has gotten involved. I always see Degentraland, pamping that. Is there a token yet or no? Because if not, there's gonna be one. There has to be one.
It's leading to a token. So one thing I would say, because the whole team is actually based in Singapore, right? So there are a lot of like multiple, I would say, events in Malaysia and Singapore. Like every time they go, like I actually played the game during activation in
You
KL.
play Kevin the Adventurer?
No, the Pixelmon game.
Oh, the real game.
Yeah, the real game. Yeah, I play it. So I am bullish because you guys know I suck at game, right? So I was at that booth wanting to win a Kevin pin, and I challenged this guy beside me and I won. So it's like that guy's really shit, right? And after that, I was like, oh yeah, the gameplay is easy, it's fun. They obviously they brought this whole huge Kevin. We do spaces multiple times with them. Yeah, they're doing a lot of crazy stuff, not just like playing the games, but I would say banging on the IP. I think there was this one which is it with base, Maeve, the summer camp
Yes,
with base,
base,
right?
base,
Whereby
Project
they
Base.
launched this, I would say, this campaign on base. You mint the Kevin, and then they will send you a small Lego set to build
Oh,
Kevin
I
the
saw
Adventurer.
that.
Yeah, so they do a lot of like crazy activation stuff. The people in Asia is very bullish on Pixelmon.
I guess that answers the question: what did they do with the $70 million mint purse? But
Well,
Tony,
I mean,
Tony, I'm going to
oh,
ask you something real quick. Without looking, what do you think the Pixelmon Generation 1, which is like the Genesis collection, the floor is on that right now, if you had to guess?
1.2 ETH.
1.6.
Fucking hey.
You can get a Kevin
I
for
should have bought
1.6. I actually, okay, I'm going to actually look up. I wonder what is, because Kevin's still in the collection, right? They left him.
I'm sure they did. Like, he was the only thing that kept them
Okay,
floating.
they actually didn't update the Kevin art, so it's the same. Like all the other art is updated, right? And the Kevin floor is 4.76 ETH.
Yep.
Oh, so Kevin's on sale, because I mean the floor originally was like 0.2 or something awful like that, and Kevin was like 6 ETH. But
Yeah.
that was when he was actually a meme.
Yeah, so it looks like they
I
actually
think
have OG
I think the
Kevin.
floor before KBW was like what 0.075, is it?
Of all Generation 1.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
Oh.
the activity on OpenSea, and it looks like this doesn't seem right, but it says like the lowest the floor got is 0.4, which I'm like, I can't totally believe that.
Check Blur. That's what I would say.
Oh, yeah. I'll check that.
Yeah. But it's not just so like the Kevin the Adventurer, the game is just purely for fun, right? And it gains like tons of users. Not only that, they I think just like yesterday they announced this collaboration together with Spirit DAO. So Spirit DAO is that
Oh.
whale group with Azuki,
Yeah.
where people collect spirits. So yeah, they are collaborating with Pixelmon to do like that comic brand IP stuff as well. So a lot of things is actually happening for Pixelmon, not just like the main game, because they feel so when I talk to the team, they feel like the main game will take a little bit too long. So they think, oh, why not just create a high price pool, let people play Kevin the Adventurer, have some fun, get the buzz going, do multiple activations in Asia, and then just continue building.
So now here's my other flip side. I do know like some people that I've been on spaces with over the past, I don't know, 3 to 4 days. People still over here hold this as like a derivative of Pokemon, based on the name and what they're trying to do. What do you have to say for people that don't take Pixelmon seriously right now, or think it's just derivative work?
They're gonna lose out, bro.
Yeah, I think straight up.
Well, I mean, like in the start, right? I feel like it's it's a Pokemon derivative and stuff like that. But right now, it's been so long since that whole so-called like IP. You remember the days whereby there's like tons of derivatives and people's like, oh, this is gonna get DMCA. People gonna take it down and stuff like that. But they are making wave. There's no news about they're getting DMCA and stuff like that. So I feel like it's fine. It's fine. Maybe they get DMCA after the token launch and we already make our back. So I think we're safe, bro.
Yeah. So basically, wag me with the Pixelmon. Don't fade it if you got the ETH.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I the activity and the volume doesn't lie, is what I would say. Just check the chain.
Who's calling us? Okay, so that's a little bit on Pixelmon. So up next was Mocha. Now that one's a little more, I won't say obvious because of, we know, you guys have been bullish on Mocha. We've been hearing a lot about it. I mean, it's quite literally Anna Mocha. Any updates on Mocha that are continuing to make you bullish or latest news?
I think the recent one with like Pixels, right? So Pixels was originally on Polygon, and then they migrated to Ronin, and I think AB kind of just like invested onto them, right? That's kind of like their thing going. So Mocha ID, I'm pretty certain was like 80K or 82K, something like that. So it's probably gonna reach 100K by, I presume, like December. And Pixels has been getting a lot of traction, and I think well deserved, right? They've been like the most iconic thing that Luke has done was to have a tractor, and that was like their main like marketing push, right? Because they are literally Pixels. It's about farming, enjoying yourself, and they had a tractor, and it was like winner gets this tractor. It was like the ROI was ridiculous. The whatever metrics you look at it, the ROI was ridiculous, and it was like their iconic moment. They get a lot of traction, and then just like move, and now they're going to, I guess, like kind of like their phase two, right? 0 to 1 was great, so now they're phase two, getting more adoption, more people to use, and just carry on with their roadmap. So yeah, for Mocha at least, Pixels and Mocha ID is like their next thing going forward. Mocha Layer. So I think to share with everybody, we just did PingCon, right, a month ago.
Oh yeah, how did that go?
That was it was amazing. It was way above my expectations. I was expecting like 30,000 tune-in listeners at most, and we exceeded it well above. But listeners all aside, the two words, two words. Yeah, okay. The two words that I took away was Mocha will be a social layer. That's pretty much it. It's a massive thing, right? They've raised 40 million to date, 20 plus 20. And the 20 was like when we were in Hong Kong. That was caught me by surprise. I was like, oh, 20 plus 20, okay, damn. Like Mogoverse 40 million funding, and like they're gonna continue. They're gonna continue and just like keep going and going and going.
Yeah, I think one takeaway from me for PingCon is like they always compare Mochaverse with like that, their miles point frequent flyer kind of stuff. So like everything that you do, it would tie back to Mocha ID, right? So with the Mocha ID, the first activation is pixel, meaning that people play the game, people do some activation, it will link back to the point system and stuff like that. So it's just they going out there, establishing partnership, so kind of like gathering up users from all of these, I would say, big brands that already have a user coming into the Mochaverse ecosystem through Mocha ID, and then from the ID accumulating points, and then later on you can spend those points. So it's kind of like this airline frequent flyer kind of thing. I think that is what they want to do. So they want to create, because like Mochaverse is the so-called membership program or membership NFT for the whole brand of Animoca brands. So just imagine like if they partner up with maybe just the top 10 or top 50 projects from there, with all the users that they acquire, you can collect points, then you can later on redeem them. I think this is going to be something really huge. Like the floor price, I think during the whole Hong Kong event, the floor price pumped to 2.7, dropped back to 1.8. Now it's back to 2.7. So,
oh my gosh.
I also saw that, like that thing I thought was really interesting. You guys talked to us about a month ago was how they have an allocation of ApeCoin and ApeCoin DAO.
Right.
And less than a week ago, they almost doubled their allocation. And I think they're the second largest holder after Machi.
yeah,
If I'm not
6
mistaken.
million, right? I think they raised it to like, it was 6 million, and then they raised it to 8 million, or one or the other. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 6, and then they raised it to 8 again, something like that. It was
So you're telling me that out of $40 million raised, that they are putting 8 million into ApeCoin DAO. I'm pretty I like that idea of them wanting to disrupt that, and them also being confident that spending nearly 25% of what they've raised on that. Just in terms of them being a participant in the space.
Yeah, Chef, I'm as surprised as you. I do not know how they structured it, because I think originally, I don't even know how they did the thing, but it's like Yatsu was part of ApeCoin DAO, and then like it was like his holdings, or I don't even know. I'm not sure about that. And then he went into it. There was like the 4 million, but yeah, they ramped up plus 2 million, and definitely a force to be reckoned with. I think it's definitely one hell of a move, to be honest.
Now,
Yeah.
Oh, I just had a quick question. So you mentioned social layer was one of the big takeaways from your PaintCon virtual conference. When we think Animoca, we think gaming, or at least I think I do, and maybe the majority of people do. So to hear you say social layer is interesting. Did they give any indication of what that may look like?
No. I think the best words that I learned from both our bosses, right, Tyler and Gojo, shout out, was that think of Mocha as a social layer. I think that's kind of like the best way to gel everything together. Air mouse, social layer. It's like these two words, you just like think of them together. That's probably the easiest way to think of what Mochaverse is intending to build towards too.
Yeah, lifts. I would just say, like, we were talking last night on Ink Tank with Austin, head of biz dev at Doodles, and he was talking about. I think that's what right. We're in like this meta right now of social-fi, maybe decentralized social. That we heard it with DID. We're hearing it with Mocha ID. I'm sure we'll hear it with Doodle Name Service about a way for all of your on-chain actions to be measured and being able to quantify fandom is what I would assume social layer means, which means they don't require a social network natively to be built, but they're creating this like a Gmail where all of your shit signs into.
And gaming can be social too. So that's why I'm like, it's not bad to kind of combine those two things. So I hear you on that 100%. Yep. I like the comp that you made with a DID there. Mr. Line, GM, welcome to Silk Road.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
What's up, bro? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I just saw the main men, Mr. Puke and Mr. Maeve, up in the space. So just wanted to come and say hello, man. What are we chatting on?
So
Congratulations, Mr. Line. Congratulations. I just want to say that first, and Liz, please go ahead.
What congrats are in order?
This guy just got married, bro.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And then he partied too hard, and then he fell sick again. The same thing happened to.
Hey, marriage is a huge life upgrade. So that congrats are in order. So with the Silk Road, we're essentially so it's Tony and myself from TGID hanging out with the Rug Radio Asia Alliance guys, Puke and Maeve, and we're just exchanging info from across the globe. Now, I may have heard an English accent, Mr. Line, so you may be somewhere in the middle between the whole gang here. So we're just swapping alpha from across the globe.
Love that. TGID, man, your voice is radio worthy, man. That is silky smooth. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I don't know if anyone told you, but that is silky smooth.
Hey, yeah. Appreciate you.
English, but based in Hong Kong, man. And I've only just kind of like got over my whole Ape Fest marriage situation. So Ape Fest was an absolute movie. Got to hang with the crew, of course. Maeve, Puke. We did the Guilo tour of Hong Kong. That was amazing. Straight into marriage, straight into fundraising. So like I've been out of the space a couple of weeks, just kind of trying to rebalance my mental health a little bit, but back now and super happy about the progress of our project. We're launching Token, but yeah, man, what's the alpha? Tell me. I'm out the game. What's the alpha?
Well, I'm actually, and I'm glad to hear you're in Hong Kong because I have a question for you. So we've been talking about Pixelmon, Mochaverse, Pluto Misfits, and Any Chess. Oh, and also Pixels Online. But I want to kind of take it you mentioned Token. I'm going to take it a quick little sidestep. Unfortunately, the person who I was going to direct this to just stepped down. But I'm curious. There is a new protocol called Facet, which is based on ETH-scriptions, which I've heard has been gaining a lot of traction in Asia. So I just want to take the temperature of everyone on the stage. And if no one's heard of it, we won't dive into it. But have y'all heard about ETH-scriptions at all, or Facet protocol? Is that on your radar?
Not yet, but just now, so I'm aping in.
Do your own research, of course. And now I saw, if you're watching us live, Maeve was shaking his head that he may have heard of Facet protocol at ETH-scription. So I'm curious, Maeve, what's your impression so far?
I knew of ETH-scription because I was super late to Inscription. And what was that? Well, there's a couple of guys I'm in the Discord. I haven't been following up too much. I would presume like he created his own protocol to get that going. And as far as I know, like we just we're about to launch Pewcast China next Wednesday, and right now at least for Greater China, inscription meta is the thing. It's massive. It's going wild. It started from polls, and then like from polls it lead on to like inscription. That's kind of like how I understood it. I don't know too much. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I'm most definitely wrong, but that's like how like that timeline was like polls, inscription came together and just like just like went wild. It really went wild.
So so you guys have been, you know, dishing the alpha for us, so I'll do the same in return. So just to let you know, so it's now called Facet Protocol, which is formerly known as ETHscriptions. And so right now it's gone from like 0 to, I think it's probably over 25 million TVL at this point, and it just keeps apparently like kind of up only at this point. Now, there's no way to gain direct exposure to Facet Protocol other than the tokens that are on it. So there are tokens on it, and there are NFTs on it. So one of the more notable, and I'm only mentioning this out of my own FOMO, because there's a collection called MF.pers, which is a mix of the kind of MFers and kind of like a Nyan cat vibe. And so those have gone from a free mint all the way up to like 0.38 as of this morning, maybe even higher now. So it's a really, and here's why I say this. From a technical perspective, I think it's really compelling because it is essentially a layer 1.5, right? It's not a layer 2. It is on quote unquote ETH mainnet, but it has a lot of the benefits of a layer 2. So I'm personally a fan of that, like, because I think this fragmentation amongst like a million layer 2s is going to be confusing and difficult over the long term. And I think ETHscriptions hugs ETH mainnet so closely that it makes sense and it's usable on ETH mainnet. I don't have to switch networks on my MetaMask to use it, if that makes sense. So just that's my little bit. And I see Tom.
To be honest, Tom has been telling us about MF.pers for months.
Yeah.
So if you slept on him, you played yourself. Tom is ETHscription maxi.
No, I didn't sleep on him. I sold too early.
Oh, you paper-handed.
I paper-handed. Yeah. I
mean, in that market, and you sold in that market.
If by paper hand you mean like free mint to 0.15, yes.
Oh, okay, fine. Fine.
But
take your money.
But when you look it up and it's like 3x in a week since you've sold, it hurts your soul a little bit, you know. But yeah. So Tom, feel free to come up to the stage if you want to educate the gang on these descriptions. But just wanted to kind of let y'all know that's maybe something to keep your eye on. Let's see here.
Listen, man, when Maeve says he doesn't know, that's the alpha. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. See, this is what we need to know here.
Bottom signal. Yeah.
When Maeve doesn't know, that's when you ape in. I love that.
Man.
I love that. Okay, so Maeve, you mentioned like Pixels Online is kind of the also most current news and alpha for Mochaverse as well. So that's good to know. We kind of got a little bit of the skinny on any chess. So if you all are into playing chess, look into it. Now, Tony, I'm going to flip the script to you as someone on the West. Like, what would you say your top 5 projects are right now? So we can kind of compare and contrast.
Well, I mean, I guess let's just talk about the elephant in the room, Pudgy Penguins. Their entire ecosystem, their entire ecosystem has been pumping this week. From what I have from the outside looking in, which is rudimentary knowledge, I think there's speculation around their licensing platform called Overpass launching, or they're going to announce it at Art Basel. And I think that really turned people up a lot.
What if instead of a check your wallets moment at Art Basel, they like offered perpetual licenses for like 10 pudgies or something? Like they're just like 10 of you get perpetual utility, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Overpass is something that, if done correctly, will be adopted by other companies. Like I would see like Doodles doing it. I would see, like if they figure out how to do the licensing. Yuga Labs is working with Sassy Labs, which is that guy Bonafide Mogul. I forget what his name was before, but he changed his.
Richie Rich.
Richie Rich. So that's like, trying to settle like legal contracts on chain. So maybe we see some kind of integration with Sassy Labs and Overwatch is possibly something I would assume.
There is a lot of people trying to solve that problem. Like Story Protocol is trying to solve that problem. Sassy Labs, like you said, and Pudgy. So it'll be interesting if they all come out with similar solutions that are solving for the same problem, or they're all kind of taking it from a different approach. So yeah, I'm curious myself.
Yeah, because I just think in general, like there's always been this big question mark around saying, why do I want to own this NFT? Like, or why do I care about commercialization rights? What if I'm not an artist or a builder? How do I make passive income from ownership? We've seen that happen already with Pudgy toys before. I know like people have gotten checks. I don't know someone that's gotten a check, so I don't know what it's at. But I could imagine, if you're doing $1 million in sales, if you're getting 1% of those sales, it's like 10 bands. So
I've heard they're not bad.
Curious to see.
I've heard they're not bad. I don't know exact numbers as well, but I've heard they're not bad.
Yeah, I would say like maybe the cautionary note that I've heard from other people is that like this might not be like real liquidity running into Pudgies. It might just be like a bunch of blend loans and people degenning because they're on blend. But I do think in general, like that's like one of the biggest pumps I've seen in recent memory of a PFP collection. So I'm like super happy for everybody over there because it's well deserved. They've been really doing a good job about building in public and taking their community alongside with them.
Yeah, just to add some context to the blend thing, because that's a good thing to kind of address. I saw Punk 9059 and NFT stats this morning, or maybe it was last night, put out a tweet about how little Pudgies was added to blend, and they actually remained kind of flat. So this kind of so that's where this idea of the blend pump that always occurs after a project is allow listed for blend, that may have been more of a meta than a reality, if that makes sense. Like that may have been more speculative than reality.
So then what you're saying is, like, to be fair, people also called it, like, I think that the Pudgy ecosystem is just in a point of price discovery. I think that they haven't really gotten dunked on much since Luca and gang took over. So
well, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that NFT finance doesn't have a part to play. I think it very much does.
Sure.
Because the Pudgies are well versed in NFT finance. They have their own lending desk that Titan runs. Like they're churning and burning using all the tools available, as where maybe a lot of other collections are not. So I definitely think there's a role there.
Totally. I guess I'm just saying, like, I've also seen like some notable individuals that were like very at the top of other ecosystems switching to Pudgy Penguins too.
Yes, 100%. Classic NFT things happening for sure that are having an effect. Mm-hmm. So Pudgies is number one for you. What about number two?
Liv said, I thought you were supposed to get number two. One.
Oh, are we doing the back and forth? Are we doing?
Yeah. Liv, you have to answer.
Okay. So thinking about stateside, what is number two? Okay, this is difficult. Now I understand the pressure. If I have to call it, okay, let me think.
Okay, I mean, I'll call one if you need it. I would say like just the VV ecosystem in general. I mean,
Jack Butcher
trademarks, but really the thing is those signatures have been going parabolic.
Have they like superseded Snow Froze collection? The
signatures are like 6 ETH right now.
Line. Are they really?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
6 ETH.
Wow. So it really was about the art.
Yeah, so I guess like a 7.3 right now. So I guess just the simple fact of, like we've seen with Yuga has a very large ecosystem. Like the mutants are 20K, apes are 10, and the list goes on, right? They've got hundreds of thousands of NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Butcher with, OPEPN's checks came out with trademarks and signatures. I don't know how you got allow listed to signatures, and I think trademarks was an open mint, and maybe you could get early access.
I think all of those are part of the Red Bull collaboration, if I'm not mistaken.
You know better than I do. All that I know is that they came out, people were kind of, there was like a little bit of an exploit in how many people could mint. I know some wallets minted a ton. People were pissed for like, I don't know, 3 hours. They dumped to like 0.1, and then they've just been all vibes. People are kind of comparing them akin to like squiggle type artwork. It's just definitely about like spectrums of light and waves. I mean, Jack Butcher seems to still have the Midas touch right now. I don't know, like in general, like what their ecosystem is trying to do besides just kind of like pushing innovation with art on chain, just like art blocks.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, it's on the art blocks engine itself. That's the whole Red Bull collaboration with it's using the art blocks engine. But there may be some, this is more anecdotal than evidence based. But I imagine there's a lot of people like you made the comparison to Squiggles, and I think a lot of other people have made the comparison that have been in the space for a long time, looking at Squiggles, pining at Squiggles, and they see a collection come from an artist who has seemingly the Midas touch that is generative art, that is Squiggle-esque, and they may see their opportunity to kind of onboard themselves to the fine art kind of ecosystem or generative art ecosystem and feel like they have something special. So maybe there's something kind of to that. Maeve, were you raising your hand there on video? Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, one of those guys. I was like looking at Squiggles and looking at checks. I was like, no liquid. It's like,
wait, can you tell me again, like what is the Red Bull collaboration about?
So I think it's called like AOI, I think. And so it's really interesting. And you mentioned earlier the connection between I think it was Singapore Blockchain Week and F1 racing. Like there seems to be this interesting kind of Venn diagram emerging of like the people who are involved in like NFTs in F1, because Kraken had a huge presence at Las Vegas F1. Thread Guy was there, Farouk was there, all that good stuff. There was literally NFTs on the back of the Williams F1 race car. So there seems to be this like interesting intersection emerging. But Red Bull is launched. I don't think it's done. Don't quote me. I haven't dived too far into it, but they've onboarded several like notable artists and dropped collections. They had what's called a Velocity Pass, which is kind of their like Genesis Pass, and that gives you access. I don't think a free mint, could be wrong on that, but to these subsequent collections. And so far, Snowfro did one, Jack Butcher's done one, maybe others, and we're seeing that artwork show up like at F1 races, like on banners and stuff like that. So it's Red Bull is really making an effort to incorporate this kind of generative art into, their media ecosystem, which is really interesting. So
basically, cool. Like TLDR, you're saying Red Bull is giving like blockchain artwork ad space.
Yep. Tony, always good for a good TLDR after I go for a good rant for a bit. So yeah, but it makes sense if they're laying the groundwork early and they know that the people who are going to be watching F1, growing up with that, or the people at F1 events, they might be future collectors, if that makes sense. Like people who are going to grow into money, things like that. So it's really interesting.
Fair point. Okay, another one I'd say that people are talking about now. Again, I am no expert on this one, so I'm gonna probably need y'all's help to help me explain it. But a lot of people are talking about Shrapnel, and I know Maeve was talking about stuff with Ronin. I think there's some kind of connection there, but I know they have a token, they have NFTs, it's gaming, and it's hot. I think that in parallel are the two things that I hear in the gaming circle right now as being like the bees.
Chef, you cook. You definitely cook. Woo.
This man is cooking. Okay, I want to get back to Shrapnel in parallel. I realize now why I don't have quite a pulse on like maybe the top 5 is because I've been looking into like obscure early things and like NFT finance protocols. So I'm not looking at the top 5 right now. And so that's why I'm off my game. What's going on here? But Shrapnel in parallel, I've heard a little bit about Shrapnel. I don't know a ton. I do know a lot more about parallel, but Maeve, Puker, what's your take on Shrapnel?
So my take is like in terms of like first person shooter, they are really big. Shrapnel, we did a couple of spaces with them. I think they have that whole activation during the Korean Blockchain Week, during Avalanche House. And so like I feel in terms of like the whole gameplay, two NFT projects or 2 game projects is actually really big. One is Shrapnel, another one is Matrix. So both of them have done like crazy activation. So like for example, I would talk about metrics, right? Because we are also, you know, doing events together with them. They launch like, okay, you know those like crazy big TI events, like, you know, people go there to watch Dota and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It would
yeah,
be
like
like tons
esports.
of people, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So just imagine that same stadium, but like massive in like China for Matrix, which is also another gaming, you know, first person shooter game similar to Shrapnel. So I feel like a lot of like this kind of games, people are really bullish on it. And if you have like a good gameplay, I tried the game before. I think a lot of people are actually hopping into this kind of meta because like for Matrix, their floor price of the Genesis is like 14, 15 ETH for like the OG collection. So it's crazy. So why play a game whereby you can't earn any money, but now playing it in Web3, and then you can earn, you know, the next collection is coming out. I mean, it's hype.
You heard it here first. You heard it here
Yeah.
first.
I think, like you said, Puke, what right now, if you want to talk about like blockchain gaming, if there was a space race of like what everybody is innovating and hoping to do, is trying to make it into the major league gaming sphere. Like there is something to say about like having some professional gamers like streaming on Twitch, but I think where you really get the ticket, like when you've like quote unquote made it, it's when you can like be at a place like you said where Dota or Half-Life 2 or like League or all these, like if there could be like an actual tournament that becomes, you know, like a global phenomenon that people would just watch because it's a game. I think that's kind of the ticket.
I think we also need to like talk about casual gaming a little bit, because what Grapes has just done is pretty freaking incredible, man. Like they're lining up to be the next king of casual gaming, and Candy Crush does what, 19 million US dollars a day in its heyday. And I think like they, like, if you don't know the Grapes, please check it out. Like 500 million downloads, 10 to 20k USD a day in revenue. I think that like as gamers, like we're all gamers, right? Like I actually love Candy Crush and I love backgammon. And like these are like really, really big entry points, because gaming as you know, first person shooter or RGP or anything like that is like quite heavy, you know, pickup point and barrier to entry. But casual gaming in Web3 is not to be dismissed, man. Like if you can build the next Candy Crush, I think like you're talking huge revenue, man.
So
and great for doing it.
what's this? Okay, because I've heard Grapes. I heard Token. I feel ashamed. I had no idea they're making a casual game. So what's the story there, and how would you compare it to something like what Sugartown in Zynga is attempting to do?
So Vica Games are a gaming studio with many games under their belt. Like Zynga are like at the top of the list. Zynga are as big as king when it comes to casual gaming, and the fact that Zynga have come in with Sugartown is fucking amazing. Like this is huge. But what Grapes have done has just been sensational. Like they went from 0.03 mint to 3 ETH floor. They have 500 million downloads. Their games generate like 3 million to 4 million US dollars a year, which they're redistributing at a 50% contribution margin to holders. So they've taken the model of casual gaming, and they've worked out a way to redistribute the revenue to their NFT holders before anyone else. So Sugartown and Zynga, obviously, like is Zynga, right? Multi-billion-dollar company, and they've got a lot of weight behind them to make this work. But what Grapes have done has just first mover advantage, as far as I'm concerned, and they've just raised 10 mil from their TGE on their public sale. So unbelievable things.
Well, and I'm looking at, you know, Grapes has 2.5 floor price. I think Sugartown has 0.27. To me, when you say like they've figured out a way to split 50% revenue share back to holders, I'm like, that sounds like something from late 2021. And so I'm like, to me, the difference there seems like the degen mentality. You know what I mean? Like, Oh, like that. Tony
We're
mentioned
building a metaverse.
Tony said the word passive income earlier, and I was like, "Are we back, baby? Like, let's
We've all
go."
been sold the dream. We've all been sold the dream of sitting on our butts and playing computer games and earning enough money every day to pay our rent and bills. Like, let's just be honest, man. Like, we've all been sold that dream. Like, let's go back 2 years. Meta's on. I just saw Meta's on it. Like, what was that project that like promised to give out 100K a month? It was like Alien Verse or some shit. Like, we've all been sold that dream. Grapes is the first company with the legal opinion and standing to make it happen without it being a security. And I think that like the way they've approached it and the way they've done it, and I can tell you from talking to them on a regular basis, they've actually unlocked the dream. 500 million downloads. Like Zynga's what? Let's just call it 1 billion. Like their floor price is 10x what Sugartown is, and I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I think maybe like you're saying. I don't know what did you say the studio behind Grapes is called?
Vika Games, 500 million downloads in their portfolio.
So I would assume that like though they're taking a more risk on approach to this.
Right.
I'm sure that Zynga is like
yeah.
terrified about that. You know what I mean? Just like with where they are,
Dude, Zynga would be like Zynga's a multi-billion-dollar business, of course. I think like Sugartown is their toe in the water, right? Sugartown is their access to new users, because here's the thing, like let's not get it complicated. When you get that big, like you cannot sustain growth, right? You've already got 1 billion downloads. There's no way you can get to 3 billion. Like you just can't. It's just not possible. The only way you can do that is through paid acquisition. And since iOS 15 introduced tracking stops, you're looking at $6 to $60 download CPAs. It's just not possible. You just cannot 3x on 1 billion downloads. So I think for Zynga, it's like they're towing the water into a new ecosystem. For Grapes, it's like we're going all in on Web3 and we're going to live and die by the sword of the degen. And I think, it's a great point, Chef, man. Like they just can't take that risk, right?
Well, and you mentioned, so 500 million downloads, the redistributing 50% of revenue. Like it's funny because I think Zeneca always talks about like it's all Ponzi-nomics anyways. So it's just like, how good is your Ponzi-nomics, right? And it reminds me of like CyberKongs in the banana token, right? And the problem is the banana token was incestuous, right? You like got bananas from holding CyberKongs, which allow you to buy more CyberKongs to get more bananas. Like, and at some point, the carousel grinds to a halt. But from what I'm hearing with Grapes, it's that they're, translating in-app purchases from quote unquote normies into like revenue for token holders. Is that like an overly simplified way to put it?
They were doing pay to play before NFTs existed, right? So they were paying you cash to play their games. Not only that, they built their own ad tech stack in the back end. So if you know anything about programmatic or anything around ad serving or ad revenue, like you make about best case $2 per 1,000 impressions, right? So like every time you serve your ad 1,000 times, you make like $3. These guys were doing it with cash before they came into Web3 and NFTs. So Ponzi-nomics like is let's just not bullshit. Like there's nothing that's sustainable so far. Like StepN killed it. Like you earned $100 for walking around the block. Next minute you earn 10 cents. Like it's just really hard to sustain.
Sure.
I think that these guys are actually working out a burn mechanism and a way to redistribute the profits that's semi-sustainable. Like they've raised $50 million funding. They've just done 10 million on their TGE. Like I think they're taking a real shot at it, and I think that they're very, very serious about the reward. How do I say this? Like the reward percentage that makes sense to keep the business going. Like anyone can give away a token. Let's be honest. Sure. Anyone can promise the world, but it takes a very, very skilled team to maintain a full price on the token. And I think they've got a real shot.
Well, I mean, like you said, let's just look at what the facts are in the room. They minted in May in a dog shit market, amongst, just not any really good activity. And they've basically, similar to like how Pudgy Penguins have went completely opposite to all the down curve. You said they raised them 10 million on a token sale, and they're still sitting at a 3 ETH floor price. If it sounds like they've taken a pretty like, I don't know, like degen, you know, like kind of like, you know, let's say you were in the business of like casinos or something. People are like, all right, like degen by nature, but like also really smart. The house always wins. So it seems like they've positioned themselves like that in the gaming world, which seems like a really good synergy to what people are trying to achieve. So it's weird because they've already kind of been doing it. And they're not afraid of it. So I sounds like it should age like fine wine,
well,
pun intended.
In my initial suspicion was like, if they're having so much success, what would be the incentive in giving away your profits? But Mr. Line, from what you're saying, is that they'd previously been doing this in USD, so it's not that much of a demarcation from their original business strategy. Now, I say all this having done quite literally zero research on this, but it sounds interesting, and I'll definitely look into it some more.
Yeah, go for it, man. I think like pay to play, incentivization, reward systems, gamification, flywheels, right? This is what drives casual gaming. And I think even with Candy Crush, right? Like they brought in a bunch of psychologists to really understand the triggers of what makes somebody get to the point that they're willing to spend $2 to keep the game alive and keep the game going. And I think that you can't discount knowledge in this in Web 2, and like Web 3 needs to evolve, right? It just needs to evolve, man. Like, and I think that I heard you talking about Pudgies earlier. Pudgies have, and what Luke has done is just pretty freaking amazing, man. Like he's selling plushies, dude. Like he's not putting the profits back into the business. I'm sure he will, but like he's not playing the Web3 game. He's not gambling people's investments. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I just feel like we're maturing a little bit, and I feel like at some point there's going to be 2 or 3 projects that break through. I think Pudgies have obviously done it for manufacturing and retail, and I think that Grapes will be the ones who do it for gaming. But it's amazing that Zynga even have their like, you know, like even have a foot in the door, and they're even like here. It just goes to show, and like we've been talking about GTA 6, right? Everyone's speculating that they're going to bring a monetized token into their system. So, man, I think it's a wild time, and like after 2 years of like dredging through this freaking bear, I think it's amazing to just like have anything that's spiking, you know.
Now, I just have a curiosity for everybody on the stage. Like we just talked about, I think Zynga's a bit of a larger than life brand, and with Sugartown, I would like to say, if I was a betting man, that they are not going to launch a token unless some real shit went down. Do you think they're going to launch a token? I would say absolutely not, unequivocally. Is that going to falter them from growth, from being one of these? Because it seems like everybody's printing tokens.
Short term, yes. Long term, no.
But look at Memeland. Memeland, 9gag has 200 million active users, and they're launching a token. Do you know what I mean? I think it's like,
to be fair though, Ray has specifically said he's like he said I'm not in the US, so I play by different rules. Like
fair, very fair, very fair. But at what point does that change?
Right.
It's like cannabis. It's like cannabis. Cannabis was illegal. The moment it was legalized, it's a multi-billion dollar business.
Are you playing chicken with the regulators, right? Like that's the thing, you know, to get that kind of, it's not even first mover advantage, it's like pre-mover advantage, right? But what I will say is that, you know, maybe we ought to not think about it such in terms of like token and not token. There are several other ways you could do that. Sugartown could do an off-chain point system that you could exchange for in-game NFT items. Like there are ways that aren't explicitly like when token that you could bring value on chain. That's just my kind of take.
I think that they've, as I said, they've dipped their toe in, and I think they're just testing the water, right? Like they've seen success, they've seen a new funnel, because the old funnels are difficult to get an ROI. And like I know for a fact that like some of these gaming projects and some of these casual games are getting like 200, 300 applications to their 300,000 applications to their tokens. So Like, it's a very, very liquid market. Web3, like, people are willing to spend money. Like, I've dropped so much freaking money in Web3, it's ridiculous, and we all have, right? We've all dropped money that would be unreal to drop into a Web2 app. So I think that, like, people are just sniffing.
Yep. No, I don't disagree. Puke, Maeve, any thoughts on whether Sugartown drops a token or nah?
I wouldn't rule it out, to be honest.
Maeve is cheesing. If you're watching the live stream, he's like,
I wouldn't rule it out. I think what Mr. Line says is right. You know, what's wrong with having a token? You know, it could be cash flow, it could be whatever. It's too many reasons, to be honest. Too many reasons to not do. I don't know. You make like a mess. The team makes like a massive bet, and you're just like fuck off to the ends of the world. We've seen it so many times.
But Maeve, like these days, even if the token fucked up, it doesn't matter, right? You can just cut and relaunch a new token. Just look at Cool Cats, right? Milk token is totally fuck, but that's it. They can just cut it off and then maybe plan to do other tokens and stuff like that. I think there's so many plays people can do these days.
I will say though, to Tony's point, that I don't think Zynga they're a little more risk off than that. They're not going to just like do that and be like, it didn't work out. I think they would definitely probably take an off chain trickle down approach to like getting on chain. That's just my.
But of course they would, but they've got like the legal team and the finances to do it, right? Someone's going to break out in this market. People are looking at Bored Ape and seeing that they're a multi-billion-dollar business growing in 2 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. Like, there's more $100 million businesses built in Web3 in the last 2 years than any other industry ever. Like, people are watching, man.
Well, you know what's funny is we're talking about this, like which company is going to launch a gaming token, and I saw some memes probably a week or two ago, and they were really entertaining to me. People were like, everyone's asking when gaming token, and then there's like Ape, like out there, like this token that has like a huge valuation. That was
not a game, right? It's not a game, and that's the problem. Like, we're like, the Ape token powers a whole industry across games, manufacturing made by apes. Like, it's just very, very diverse. Like, as soon as somebody unlocks the barrier to entry, and I think it will be GTA 6. Let's just pretend that GTA 6, as part of their onboarding process, allowed you to set up a wallet through an email, whether it was Dapper or somebody else, and allowed you to buy skins, games, cars, but allowed you to sell them for cash.
Imagine how much everyone would shit a brick if it was Dapper. Oh my god!
I mean, someone's got to provide the technology layer, right?
Yeah. Hey. I mean, if I was GTA, I would not be looking at them, to be fair. But I think the ETH maxis of the world might their heart might skip a beat.
It's never going to be ETH, man. Like, it's the gas too expensive. It might be like Polygon.
Yeah, for sure. Or Solana. My God.
So speaking of Solana, I think if there's any other projects that are really the top of mind in the US, it's the top 3 on Solana. I guess Bodogos from the Nifty guys.
Yeah, Bodogos.
Mad Lads.
And Claynos.
Yep, 100%.
I don't own any Solana NFTs yet.
Shout out Danketsu, man. It's one of the projects on Polygon that doesn't get enough love. If you don't know Danketsu, please check it out.
Well, and that's a good point too. So the guys, our Rogue Radio Asia Alliance fellows, mentioned Pluto Misfits on Polygon. We didn't get back around to that either. So definitely not worth fading the Polygon project. So thanks for that ad, Mr. Line. No, and Tony, it's funny because you mentioned the way that you put it. You said, maybe these are the projects that are top of mind. And maybe that's even more what I meant. It's not even necessarily what are like the top 5 strongest projects, but what are the top 5 top of mind? What are people talking about? Because ultimately that's kind of what's most important, to be fair. So I think the Solana mentions are worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, what we probably do with a lot of our time is try to like find things that are about to come out or that are like super, super, super early at the time. Where like, unless there's something that's dropping in the next 48 hours, it might not be good. But to say like in general, like if people have capital, those are definitely like, some of them are stable coins and some of them are like things like that have barely even gotten ignition.
Well, and let me ask this too, just to kind of go back a little bit to the whole gaming token thing. You know, Mr. Line mentioned Ape doesn't necessarily have that gaming element yet. We saw a lot of people, I won't say get excited about the tech with Portal Coin, but you know, the whole promise of Portal Coin was that, you know, it's going to be used across all these different games. What is like 200 games they brought underneath their umbrella or something like that. Obviously, we have no idea about any of that, but Mochaverse seems like kind of a no-brainer, or they're bringing all these games underneath their umbrella. Like, when Mocha token, you know, like, is that on anybody's mind? Are people thinking and talking about that? The Mochaverse guys go quiet.
That NDA is tight.
The Mochaverse guys go quiet.
Coming to play, it's like
Or we can play hypothetically. If we were farming for some kind of token, what type of activities would we be?
Well, let me rephrase this. Let me rephrase this in a more NDA friendly way. Like, for you guys with Mochaverse, like if you were Mochaverse and you're looking at your entire gaming portfolio, is it Mocha ID that is the thing that connects them, or would you be looking at something that would be more of a, you know, interoperable like currency layer for your gaming ecosystem? Would that make sense?
Mocha ID is just a way to onboard more users, but in the end, a lot of like the activation and stuff like that, it still comes from having the Mochaverse, staking it, active staking it, getting the points, and then joining some sort of activation. So Mocha ID, it's more towards just like more users coming into the ecosystem, but the main thing is still going to collect like the realm points. I think that is the main things.
You're right. They already have off-chain points. I'm so sorry, I forgot about that. The realm points. So yes, that's the thing. And do they also have XP as well? And is there a difference between the two, or is it just realm points?
There's difference.
There's different channels.
What is the difference between realm points and XP?
So XP is more towards like the social stuff you do using Zeely, like the like, retweet, join spaces, submit it. Those are like the XP points, and some of like, I would say the Cosmic Hunt during that time is using the XP point to buy the tool to play the game. For the realm points, it's really limited. Even like we discussed to have like, you know, giving out realm points for people who participate during PinCon day 1 and day 2. Even that whole activation didn't go through because it's like super scarce in terms of like tokenomics and stuff like that. So it's not as easy to give away compared to like XP. So I feel like realm point is the real alpha. In order, how do you want to farm those points? We have to wait for like their updates and stuff like that.
All right, I'll have the Reg Radio guys' back, but I'll repeat the phrase: the realm points are the alpha. That's we'll leave it there.
Dude. They just fucking announced a $20 million raise. Like, these guys are not mucking around, man.
Oh, 100%.
There's a token coming.
No,
I can assure you that.
The West,
it's gonna be sick.
The West, and this is a lot of the reason that, you know, we've connected with these guys and we continue to do this this Silk Road show, is like it's kind of like we Westerners need to have our heads like hit with a club. Like, you know, we hear it every other week on Silk Road. It's like Animoca, and it's just not part of the conversation, you know, on this side of the globe, and it really should be.
Yeah, I just think it's either people like the cats or they don't like the cats, and that's mainly the Animoca talk around at least the circles that I'm in right now. Which, like you're saying, it's a vast ecosystem with a fund that has fuck you money in it.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, you're right. Like the deepest it gets is like, oh yeah, cool cats. Yeah, those guys. Like, but yeah, there's a lot more.
Really? Is that the entry point into Animoca? Cool cats?
Animoca, at least in my circles and many other circles, is a non-topic of conversation in the West. Like people are like, oh, like those mochas, like those are a thing. Oh, that's crazy. They have a 2 ETH floor.
They're
like,
pretty expensive. Yeah.
Wild, dude. Like
the the company that literally like built the technology and the framework for ApeCoin and are like one of the biggest investors in Basie and have 450 portfolio companies and built Axie Infinity. Like, wow, man, that's crazy.
Your skepticism is not lost on me, dude.
Like if I were to like maybe make a layman's explanation for what Mochaverse is, like imagine if there was a thing called 776 verse, and 776 was just like, hey, we're making a fucking key to the rest of our ecosystem. We've put money everywhere and all these projects that are doing good, and amongst a bunch of other things, you're going to want this thing. Maybe that would make sense to people. You know, I'm not really sure like
Basically,
how much more.
What you need to tell them is Animoca is the BlackRock of Web3, bro.
Yep,
that's
a good one.
It's a good
That's
comment.
pretty good. That's pretty good. Yep. All right.
Listen, like at the end of the day, it's funny because like in the West are great brand builders, right? Basie is like an epic part of the like just the absolute leader of the Web3 brand story. But that's been in part through collaboration, connection, like for the like we all know that CAA, Creative Artists Agency, was the agency that handled Basie, and that's why Eminem got a Basie and Madonna got a Basie and blah blah blah. So like they're just freaking epic brand builders, man. And on the other side of that, like Doodles, incredible art, like great timing. Just they've done an amazing job. But Asia's unfortunately the future of Web3, man, because America are just like so fucking quick to like shut down the technology, where like Singapore, like less so in Singapore because like, you know, exchanges can't list there, but Hong Kong, Korea, Malaysia, like they see the future of the blockchain and they're backing it hard. Like when you've got the government backing you and when you've got like multi-billion-dollar businesses backing you, it's gonna be, I think, a really quick tilt point. Unfortunately, it's gonna go from brand to scale. Like take Azuki for example, amazing brand, huge support in Asia. Like Animoca are like the BlackRock of Web3, man, and it's just wild to hear that. But pretty interesting, man. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you make a good point. You know, these guys, Maeve and Puka were talking earlier. They mentioned as well government support of. They were talking about it in the context of blockchain conferences and things like that. But to like you know that what's the meme? Like the European mind can't comprehend this. Like to hear you say government support of blockchain products, I'm like the American mind can't comprehend this. I'm like it just blows past me. Like. But it's real though, and I think that may be part of the reason why we can't, like, as a Western culture, necessarily conceptualize this. Like, there is a BlackRock of crypto in Asia. Like, what? Like, I think it flies over our heads. To be fair, like, it's just hard to conceptualize. That also has government support. Like, what? I don't know, but I think if you can wrap your head around it, you can take action on it.
So you're saying that Mocha is at 10 ETH is FUD?
What is the floor price of Mocha right now?
Like 2.6.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah.
I think what we're saying is you may still be early. You know,
I think that's the takeaway for sure.
We always, the meme of 2021 was wait till Asia wakes up, and so maybe we need to reverse that for Mochaverse. Like wait till the USA wakes up on Mocha.
Stay up later and buy the dip.
Yeah, because like I feel right now a lot of like, I mean, tokens are doing well, right? We talk about Grape, previously we talk about Beamland tokens and stuff like that, and then like tomorrow, you know, NFT Inspect is launching their token as well. So like if all of this, you know, tokens are doing well, then definitely finally when Mochaverse said, hey, you know what, we're gonna do a token as well, this is it, and then I think it will pump even more. So like I'm just waiting for that news.
I'm very, speaking of NFT Inspect, I'm very curious, not like just from a token, like how it's going to do, like, is it going to cook? From a technology perspective, like, you know, is it going to change the way people use X? Like, you know, and how they integrate their NFTs in X? Like, I think it's a really interesting concept, like considering how quote unquote, like sticky of a product NFT Inspect originally was, like, oh, what rank am I amongst my collection? Like, I think it's just going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I think one of the stats is like about 50 million people using the browser tools on their Google. So I
Wow.
think like that is like really in terms of like customers using it, that is a great number to show.
Yeah. No, I definitely think not enough people are talking about that one as well. So definitely, even though it's happening quite literally tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
not a lot of people are talking about it.
I'm gonna see the sidelines for this one. How about you guys?
Yeah, I don't have any direct exposure to it. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch up.
Might have
Does
to take a
anybody know
flight
who's
to
the team that
Palau.
handled
What
right.
what is Tony rank in Doodles? Like what Tony? What's your rank in Doodles?
I don't know. I've never actually like signed in to inspect, but I'm sure I'm pretty decent. Not to toot my own horn.
Not to toot his own horn.
I could check just for the culture if you'd like.
Let's check for the culture.
Yes.
Can you
for the
check for me? I'm not at a computer
I'm looking on it right now. No, I haven't
because
used-
I haven't used it, so maybe I'm not like measured to say.
No, I haven't used the new platform, and so I'm like, it used to be so simple. You just log on, and now it's like want me to launch an app and stuff. What the hell?
Yeah, I could do it once I'm at my computer later. I'm curious. Where are you at Nazuki? Are you number 1?
Nah, I do not know. Number 1 is Will. Come on, guys.
Okay, fair.
don't think
fair.
we're
I'll,
even
give him
registered,
that.
to be
I'll
honest.
give that one to him. Sure.
Because like ours are like we added like custom stuff, right? Like with the purple and like the Mogama. So I don't think we're even registered, to be honest. Yeah.
You broke that. We broke the scales. That's our narrative from now on.
All right. Now, the way that they have it, I don't know how to look at it. So I don't think any of us are on the top because I think you can look, okay, top community members. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I see myself. I'm number 16. Where's Tony?
16, not bad.
16 is high. Definitely a Doodles influencer. All right.
Yeah, you're a Doodles influencer officially, bro.
Oh, this is ranked by followed by community. Might be, I'll look at global reach. I think that's the whole.
Is global reach just like you amongst other people with NFT PFPs?
I think it's amongst your own community, if that makes sense.
There's a global with your PFP amongst your PFP community, and the one which is like everybody. And then I think you can filter again with giveaway and non-giveaways, because some accounts are like giveaway accounts. Yep.
There's a giveaway one. Okay. Let me see
Yeah, I think
here.
the top number 1 is a giveaway account, right?
Should
Probably
50-50, yeah,
probably.
Spec.
We're just like scouring NFT inspect now. LOL. Can you? Oh, I can search.
Now, when finally they are launching token tomorrow, then we are.
It felt a bit abrupt, right? Like, I don't know.
This is why the product is sticky. You know what I mean?
They're certain. And just like, let's do it. Fuck it.
Tony, wait.
Now,
what's your profile? Is it NF Tony P?
Yeah, I've never hexed my PFP or anything either, or like connected my doodle to that thing. I don't connect my doodle to shit.
I don't think you have to connect it. I don't think you have to at all, because it's like it measures. It knows who's using the PFPs and who's not. If that makes sense.
Even if it's just a JPEG.
Yeah, that's my impression, because it has all the team, it just has a ton of people.
Huh. I'm echoing.
Yeah, I think Maeve, are you is your phone on a little bit? So I think I am number 20, but yeah, that's all
I'm not a number 20. Bullshit. Then that thing is not. That shit is pseudoscience.
Yeah, I can't explain it. Like you said, you may have to log in, but not connect your doodle. But I don't think a lot of these people have. So, but granted, it's not known for being like the most accurate thing, to be fair. So I wouldn't sweat it.
It's all right.
Yeah, but
After you do your token,
exciting
you're gonna
to
have a lot of
see.
funding.
No, it's exciting to see that number 4 and 5 it's like SMB, like Solana Monkey Business,
Wait, number 4 and 5 for what?
for like overall profile.
Oh,
Twitter
that's
profile global reach.
interesting.
Yeah.
Geez, I feel like we could have an entire episode just crawling around NFT Inspect to just like gain. Well, that's part of, honestly, like that's part of why the product is compelling to me, is that there's just these like social insights that we wouldn't otherwise normally get, and they may be surprising. Like you'd be like, what the hell? Like Solana Monkey Business has like one of the highest PFP ratings amongst its collection. Like that's really interesting.
Yep.
So,
Yo, Tony, I recognize your voice, man. Have you had a different name before? Have you always been Chef Tony?
Chef Tony has always been it. I guess maybe before that it was just Tony P. Probably was the gist. But I just added Chef to it, I guess.
he was rocking a Cool Man's PFP previous.
Oh, okay. What's going on with Doodles, man? Like, what? Doodles has always been a grail. We all love Doodles, man. What's the alpha?
Okay, so I guess right now they've got an in-house animation studio that makes them revenue and makes their content. So that is probably their competitive advantage at this moment. They have got what's called the studio, which is something that interacts between ETH and Flow for their build a doodle, like build a bear, called Doodles 2, still in beta. In Q1 of 2024, it will come out of beta, so we should get a lot more functionality. And I'm assuming they're going to knock the 2 off of Doodles 2, because people getting introduced to the brand, it wouldn't make sense to have, like the iPhone 2 before the iPhone. I think what we've seen is a bit of a realignment from where they were coming from. It's a little bit unclear exactly what the next thing is going to be. Big time wise, they've really been spending most of their time on a semi-permanent event in Chicago called Camp. Think of like Disney if you scaled it down into like a store, but an interactive store that is for children to play in, kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese arcade, Dave and Buster's, if you've ever been to anything like that, where you go and you play around, and there are ways to acquire wearables with a badge called a doodad. So it's kind of trying to introduce people to digital collecting through acquiring stuff in person. We saw something similar at Cool Cat's Cooltopia in NFT NYC, where they kind of like you'd go around, you'd acquire milk points, and you could exchange them for things. We just haven't seen them turn on, okay, I went to this physical event, I collected these wearables, now you can pay for them, or now you can turn them over. That's basically what's in beta right now. So I think they're trying to reinvent how physical and digital comes together, and onboarding people through like in real life experiences and generating revenue through that vertical. I think that's really where they're sticking right now. So we're just kind of seeing how they're going to interplay blockchain into those, like making money from physical infrastructure, which is cool.
Hell yeah.
Oh, and then I guess the other part is developing this story between the 2 main characters, Hap, which is like the mascot, and then Mello, which is the cat. It's essentially like, I guess the way I would distill the story is it's a dude and their cat. It's a cat's world, and we're just living in it. And they are exploring interdimensional travel. There's like this place called Dullsville, which is like, I don't know, regular society. It's all gray, and they're trying to color the world with joy. And they're going to start, they've been doing a lot of short form animated social content, but that's going to play into so they're just kind of developing the characters and like how they move, how they sound, what the colors look like. Then eventually we'll probably get to actual storytelling, but they're just doing it short form right now.
Listen, man, the fucking amount of money you guys are sitting on, this should have been done a year ago.
Hey, you don't have to tell us. No, I'm just
like, what the fuck? Like, you guys have got millions and millions and millions of dollars, and we're 2 years in waiting for a fucking story. Come on, man.
54 million, to be fair.
Only 54 million.
Maybe more.
Bro, like, come on, man. Like, I love it, but like, stop fucking around, man.
Yeah, I'd say like the quick bit is like it's gonna take time. I would not look at Doodles as a short-term play whatsoever. If you are, you're gonna be fucking disappointed.
No, I get that. Like,
yeah.
I get that. And I'm a big fan of Doodles. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to own one. But like, just like, sorry to be a dick, but when you're sitting on $54 million and you've got 2 years to execute, like, I don't know, man. Like, there's small projects out here fucking executing 3-4 products a quarter, and like, there's I don't know. I just feel a little bit salty that like there's all of the core projects are like delivering a minimum. You know what I'm saying? Like, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And it is kind of, it can be disappointing, like when a lot of these, like you said, core projects are moving relatively slowly as compared to their more like nimble, smaller counterparts. And I say this, I'm just gonna kind of like skip forward. And I say this like not as like cope necessarily, but for even things like the storytelling components. And this is where something like Luca Nets has actually given some context there, which made me feel a little bit better about it, because Doodles made a big moment about announcing their main characters Happen Mellow. And everyone was like, seriously? Like, you waited that long to do that? Like, that's it? Like, and Luca gave some context to it where he was like, if you're trying to build the next Pokemon or something of a similar caliber, like announcing your main characters is not a small decision or a small feat, because you can't take that back, right? And say like, oh, just kidding. Like, these guys are new main characters. Like I said, cope or not, whatever, like it's a little bit of an explanation for it. And the other thing that I've thought about recently, which is interesting, is that Doodles is really trying to, I think at the core of it, create a culture of collecting digital items. I know that's very broad, but if you look at what they've done with Flow wearables, that's essentially what they're trying to do as well.
I mean, I would just say, like, between the lines, like, it was South by Southwest 2022 when they said that they were, working with writers. I'm sure that it takes years to like actually build a world where they can create something that people care about. Like, you have to think about things like Star Wars and Star Trek. Like, people hyper analyze like the made up languages and the physics, and like, they've got to come up with values and so many layers to this stuff. And I definitely don't envy being in that position. It's just like, we've learned Pokemon through getting a TV show and a game. We've already got like Ash and Pikachu, but we're like, well, like, how else are other people going to see it? And that's kind of like this whole interplay right now. It's like, let them cook, or people are like, well, how the fuck do we not have a show?
Well, and this is the last thing I'll say too, is like I said, not cope, but I think looking back, as just even from the technology standpoint, they've chosen to use Flow for the wearables. And I don't think the Flow technology even 12 months ago was where it needed to be to accomplish what they want to do. So I think looking back, we'll be like, thank God they didn't, start trying to do a walletless onboarding experience with the state of Flow technology at the time. I know that's going to sound like cope, but in the rearview mirror, I think 8 months, 12 months from now, we'll be like, thank God they waited and maybe not even waited, but just it happened that way. That's just kind of my at least current take.
And I'd also just say there's been like a rapid realignment. Like, we did run it with 3 founders, like 2 very capable in the tech space and a great artist. There's clearly been a tectonic shift in leadership. And I'd say even as holders, like, we're still a little bit in the dark as to like what those OG founders are doing and what their roles are. So I'm sure that like it's taken quite a bit to like come to terms with the new direction for it.
I get that, and I think that that's absolutely fair. Like, you can't, like, this stuff takes time. I guess that like just experiencing Ape Fest and experiencing being an ape holder was just a little bit eye-opening to me, because like what they pulled off at Ape Fest was just like unreal, man. Like, really, really unreal. Like, and I know that Doodles have done that at NYC. Like, they had the Pup Fest, and it was like, sorry, I'm not sure of the terminology, but like that was an incredible experience. I just like there's a frustration, where like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars are going into this industry, and I don't see the input-output ratio. Do you know what I mean? It's like I think that my mind was blown by what Bored Ape had done. Like the way that they I'll give you an example. I bought a Bored Ape within an hour. Like I was in 3 communities. After that, I was at dinner with apes. After that, I had business opportunities. After that, I met all of these amazing people on this stage in events. And throughout that whole experience, I made $5,000 profit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just
yeah.
It's crazy, man. Like those guys just absolutely kill it. And I'm just struggling to understand how you can sit on $50 million and not everyone's strategy is different. And I think that's the most important thing about Web3. It's not applying every framework to every project, but there has to be a point where you can turn $50 million into $52 million. You know what I'm saying?
100%. And I don't think you're wrong, right? And I don't even want to do it the injustice, because I think a lot of times people go well, Bored Ape, you guys an outlier, right? And they just kind of don't inspect why they succeeded as a result of that. But what I will say is that if you look at the inverse, right, is all of the other projects, right? So you Moonbirds. I even see someone like DeGods is a great example, because DeGods
Moonbird, unbelievable.
Well, right. But here's what I'm saying: it's all of them have struggled to find product market fit and revenue. To be fair, this is not an exclusive problem to just Doodles.
No, I agree.
And so you've seen them take a bunch of different approaches, right? DeGods has essentially tried to pivot, every 4 months, and that strategy has not worked out well for them either. And I'll say that Austin, the head of biz dev for Doodles, said something interesting. He was a startup is a new company every 6 months. And what I will say for Doodles is maybe that has been more of an internal process, as where some other companies like DeGods, like Moonbirds, that's been a more external process, right? Where they've taken these public pivots. And I don't know if either of them strategies have worked out well up until this point. So at this point, we're just kind of left to say well, we'll see. What happens in the future.
I'd say my 2-point bull case, quickly, if someone was gun to my head, what's about Doodles? One, the incubator. It's a community treasury of $5 million. It's not a pure DAO. There's a council. You just basically have to convince 3 out of the 5 to unlock money. And it's meant to incubate businesses and become sustainable. I think that's a great value proposition of direct monetary equivalence. I think the other part is truly just that IP is timeless. It makes you feel some type of way. And I just, parked my shit, threw the keys in the bottom of a river and was this will be notable one day.
I'm still waiting for that 15 ETH rainbow puking ball head thread. So yeah, I'm bullish on Doodles.
Awesome.
Mate, awesome. I still want one, and it's only for the art. So I'm with you, man.
No, and we can probably talk about this.
But to be fair, I'll tell you, Line, one of the things that at least as a holder, I do think in general, there does need to be respect earned back in the space by the team and the project in general. There's so much infighting and vitriol and animosity amongst the community itself, just to be fair, from the inside looking out. I think people might not want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So I think it's just there's definitely not everything is sunshine and rainbows at this point, but I think we're turning it around.
And to your point, I'm of the personal opinion that apathy is the worst thing that can happen for a project in the space, right? When people stop totally giving a fuck, you are in serious trouble. So the fact that we're even talking about Doodles, whether it's out of frustration, which is warranted, or out of the bull case, I think that's good. And I'm a personal believer that I think that these are the kind of productive conversations that need to occur to drive the space forward. So I'm let's go for it. What I will say though is we ran for about an hour and 40 minutes. We typically try to get to about an hour and a half.
Let Forza get the last word though. Sorry, we didn't mean to go all Doodles on you.
Yo, Forza, this is a Pixelmon Maxi, guys. He has the alpha. Come on,
He's
Forza.
the alpha.
Yeah.
He's the alpha.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. Yeah. So I was showing the waves. I am on my PC, so I can't raise my hand. The Doodles topic, let's talk about that because I think the doodles, the main thing that's having a pullback on them, like they can't move forward, it's the location they're based. They're US based company, right? And basically in US, if you're a Web3 company, it's so hard to scale. Like that's why most of the Web3 project they either like set up their company, you know, Euro Arab countries, or they move to Asia, like Singapore, Malaysia, or Korea, because they have the scale, they have the right government, facilities. So I think Doodles is trying to work out like how to do this by being primarily in the US, because if it's a US company, they have like future benefits, but it comes at a cost. Right now, they can't scale that much. So I think they're waiting for the governments, to make much more like somewhat of a good, well, I'm sorry, like the good ways, like what are the right things. I mean the laws like Web3 that are solid, not for the sake of the words that this is gonna happen. No, like we must have a solid law. This is how we should move forward in Web3. This is how the government would see. So when it happens, I think Doodles will make a big move, and that's the time Doodles will pump, because Doodles, it has reach in the celebs. Like the Web2, the big names, they do know Doodles much more than any other Web3 project, because it's a PFP, it's identity. Like you said, Bored Apes, like Doodles is like that. People know Doodles too, but it's just the Web3 is right now not much into it, but the Web2 do know Doodles much more than other Web3 projects. So yeah, that's what my take is. So Doodles will have a move, but it would take time.
And to your point, Forza, I think one thing that a big part of why we even just started Silk Road is because I think like a lot of us, we've heard Luke and Netch say it, we've heard a lot of other people, we've absolutely heard Puke and Maeve say it, that the bull market's going to come from Asia. And I hadn't thought of it as companies based in Asia because of regulatory conditions, but I think there's, on top of there being a lot of untapped capital and a lot of people to onboard, the stars are really starting to align. And I do think that where a brand is based is huge for, trying to point out the trajectory, as well as who's funding them, as we've seen with Mochaverse.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like US, like people, it's two scale, right? It's like the Asian part and the US market. They're both at the both extremes. Like you see, like you would be amazed that, oh, people in the US, they have this much collectors. They have this many things. There's so many people collect in the US, like cars, scale models. But the thing is, Asian people do 10 times more than that, but they don't show it off. People in Asia, we are so close to, like, I don't want to like show it off to others. It's personal to me, like whatever I do. So that's what happens. But Web3, I think the Web3 Asian market, like people are starting to like, okay, let me show, like if I can make money out of it. Okay, all right. So that's why I think the Asian market is right now getting the spotlight right now, because people are coming out of that. They really want to up their game. They want to make money. They want to like move their social life. They want to have the spotlight on them. Like they don't want to be like, oh, like staying down and feeling like, okay, I can't make it. Right now the Web3 is like giving them the opportunity, like you can make a big name. You don't need to show much. You just need to go to some live events, like 10 people, you connect with them and you can scale up. You would be a big name.
Yeah, I think that I love that take, because when in the United States, people are always like, oh, Asia's where the culture is. Like people don't really dive into like what that means. And like you're saying, like if the culture of the way that people just function, like people flex like super hard in the United States all the time, like Versace, Louis Vuitton, all this stuff. But if you're saying traditionally collectors or people are more reserved, and it's just like, hey, if you know, like, yeah, like that person's definitely pretty connected and respected. But the culture, like you said, the culture that we have here in the Western Web3 space is definitely like, hey, come along with us, like let's make money with the gang. As that paradigm shift occurs in Asia, then that's kind of like this whole thing, like when we're all actually doing the same thing, that's a lot more new users.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be people that like don't understand why Bitcoin is important. It can just be like there are more people like us all across the globe that do understand the power of this movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just want to add one more point, right? Honestly, like when I look at Asian companies, and just to reflect what Mr. Line said, Mr. Line basically, you can call him an Asian, right? He's based in Hong Kong. People, the way company works is a little bit different. Asia, I feel like the things, for example, like launches, is much more faster. So look at, like, I mean, we talk so much about like different projects, right? Mr. Line itself, with BRX, which is also a Animoca brands affiliated company, they launch already like 3 products in a year, right? And then we look at Mochaverse, every week they have like different updates, different activations. So it's like it doesn't take maybe 2-3 months to launch one initiative. It's like every week they are doing spaces, they are doing activations, events, and stuff like that. So I feel like Asians, the company, work a little bit different, and the timeline that they plan, it's very rush. It's like just activation upon activation. I think that is really different.
Yeah, the product attention media cycle seems to be, and it's already fast in Web3, but it seems to be, like you said, in Asia. That's why it's like we do this every 2 weeks, and I feel like we're always playing catch up. Like, you guys did what, and what's going on, and like
it's like where the TikTok attention span meets in real life events.
Yeah, right.
Asia, that should be their tagline.
But let me just say one thing to that, right? Because I'm a Brit living in Asia for 10 years, and I can tell you something, like there is a culture play here where crafting stories is really important, and don't get me wrong, but like Web3 attention spans are half as short. So you're always caught in between a rock and a hard place between executing on speculation and delivering a product you promised. So like when we look at people who are sitting on $50 million, $100 million, like it's very hard to swallow that you can't execute something in a year, but a small brand sitting on 100K can execute 3 products. But at the end of the day, this comes down to quality. I think it's like, I'll give you an example. It took me 18 months to ship a hat from CloneX. Like, fuck me, bro. Like, this is Nike. This is one of the world's best e-commerce brands in the world. They can ship anything, anywhere in 2 days. So, like, I think I don't know if that's like a disproportionate expectation from a Web3 team to an e-commerce team, which I think is the case, or if it's just like people underestimate what it takes to build an e-commerce company. But I think that we're slowly starting to filter out like the bullshitters from the executors, and I think that it's an exciting time. And just to come back to the Doodles thing, I still want the Doodles. I believe in the team. I think that they can do fucking cool shit, but like at some point you have to respond to the wins. Do you know what I mean? Because like we're people about the wins.
Totally respond to the wins. 100%. Yeah, it does. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people saw this pudgy pump and like maybe there's some pent up demand there. You're starting to hear kind of rumblings around the Doodles community. Like people talk about it. It's one of those things where anybody who talks about it is like, yeah, like, everyone loves the Doodles. Like, it's great. Like, but when or something like that. It makes me wonder if they do get some solid execution, some solid wind in their sails, like if we'll see some positive response there.
Does it convert to sales of the fucking assets?
Luca was a fucking killer e-commerce guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he already was working with Walmart. He was already building brands that delivered millions of products into retail stores. And that's the big difference. Like being an artist doesn't cut it anymore. Like you can't just like make art. Hey, I made an NFT. Like it's cool, we love it, but like now it's worth $10,000, so you better fucking give me the return on my investment. So like, and that's the thing, and that's why Luca killed it, because he took a vision, he believed in it, but he had the connections, he had the like the ability to ship 2 million pieces of hardware. Like not everyone can do that, but like, look, you guys have got Pharrell, man, so you better start milking that.
when profitable business meta You know, maybe that's what's up next. All right, gang. I will say we can probably talk about this for hours, but
yeah. No, I just want to add one more thing. Oh man,
oh my gosh, you guys are crazy.
You got so much to talk about. No, I mean, like, just imagine a project that is in Asia for the last 3 months, right? Just say, October, November, and then December. So just for 3 months itself. And if you hop around, like with all the major events, you already targeted 6 countries, right? We started from Korea, and then we go to Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand. Next will be Taiwan and India, right? And then January we have Chiang Mai, which is Thailand again. We have Vietnam. So it's like in just 4 months, a project can hop around in Asia, which is not too expensive, but you already targeted 6 different countries all around Asia. So like with just that itself, you get more traffic coming in, you get more buzz out, compared to a US who's based in just say in US, right? You don't get so much of movement out of like different countries, meet different people and stuff like that. So I think that is really just a little bit different compared to the US.
100%.
Mate, let's take a moment to recognize Puke and Maeve. Like, man, listen, like these guys at 8fest did an AMA at every fucking event. They were all over the space, man. Like, I got to give it to them. These guys are really showing up. They're really providing quality events. And like, I just want to shout you guys out, man, because I know that we haven't really caught up since 8fest, but like, the work you guys are putting in is next level, man. So I just want to thank you for that. You're putting Asia on the map, showing people that Asia's where it's at, and you guys are legends, man.
It's true, 100%. That's why we're here hanging with these guys. They're doing it.
Yeah, we definitely can't like sing the praises enough. Like how well like I endorse you guys, and it's really cool to be working alongside because you guys really do put in that work. And the hustle doesn't go unseen. And I would just say, like, we wouldn't be out here putting Alpha out there if we didn't, really stand by these folks. Much love, my friends.
Well, and just to say, these guys have their own shows that they do throughout the week, so make sure to tune into those. But if you want to come catch that geographic arbitrage, we try to be here every other week for Silk Road, so don't miss it.
We have too many things to talk about, to be honest.
Yeah.
Save it for the next one. Save it for the next one, guys.
If coins start pumping, maybe we'll do it every week. Who knows? Who knows? All right, everybody. So thank you all so much for choosing to spend your morning with us, or whatever time it is, wherever you're at, because we're like Pitbull. We're Mr. Worldwide. So yeah, it's been amazing chatting with you guys today. The energy is obviously super great. Lots of super interesting stuff happening in the space. Like I said, could talk about it quite literally all day. But let's go take action on that alpha. You know what I'm saying? Let's get after it. All right, everybody. Take it easy. Guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.
See you guys. Take care.
All right. The Spaces is done. All right, guys. I do have to run, but that was awesome. That was super fun. That's exactly what we're looking to do. So that's the good shit right there.
Awesome. All right. Tons of stuff, but do check out Pixelmon. That's something.
I think the question is conviction, man. Like,
dude, so what I would do for you guys too is retweet the video from the live stream and maybe quote tweet it, or like use the link and put a couple of points. Like we talked Animoku, we talked Pixelmon, we talked this. Like I think that'll help that video get some extra traction, right?
Yep.
Be like alpha, however you want to say it.
For sure.
All right, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.